Hello everyone. It is another late evening. Well, not quite as late this time. And I am back to do another video about one of my favorite cities. And this city, in this video that I'm going to talk about, is Dublin in Ireland. So let's get started. I have been to Dublin twice. And again, the first time was for a good length of time. I went to live in Dublin on a homestay program through NACEL, N-A-C-E-L, which is an exchange program. We actually hosted 4 French students through NACEL, through the same program, over, 5 summers. One girl came back and stayed with us twice. So we had, what was the first girl's name? Letitia, and then Sabine came back. No, not Sabine. Catherine. She came back and stayed a second summer, and then we had Sabine, and then we had a boy, Jean-Baptiste. And somewhere in the middle of that, because this was like late middle school and through my high school years, somewhere in the middle of that, I went to Ireland through the same company. They offered a discount if you had been a previous host family. Okay, so it was the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, and I lived with a family, and they had 5 kids of their own, big Irish Catholic family, and while I was there, they also hosted a French student and a Spanish student. They apparently did this every summer and had multiple students at a time, and yet somehow I got my own room. So I don't know how I got so lucky. The Spanish girl and the French girl had to share, and some of their own kids got booted out of their bedrooms and were like sleeping in the dining room and stuff. I don't even remember. But my host mother was very nice, and we lived in Shankill, which is south of Dublin. It's a suburb of Dublin, like on the way to Bray. Bray is the last line on the Dart, and I think we were one stop before Bray on the Dart, the Dublin Area Rapid Transit, the train. And the cool thing was, it wasn't just a homestay, it was also a class. So on the weekdays, we went to a high school, that was closed because it was summer, and so school wasn't in session. And we would meet there for class and learn all about Irish history and culture and all sorts of things, and everything to do with Ireland. And then a couple of the weekends, we took field trips, and one weekend they took us all on buses all the way across to the west coast of Ireland, and we went to Connemara, that region of Ireland, and stayed overnight in a hotel. And so I was there for a month, the whole month of July, and spent a lot of time in Dublin city proper. And then the class it wasn't just Americans. There were, I don't know how many of us there were. There were a good number of Americans, and then there were Spanish kids and there were French kids in the class too, and we were all individually placed with families. But it was kind of cool because on the circle little neighborhood street that I lived on, 2 of the girls in my class lived on either side of me. One was 2 doors down this way, and one was right next door this way. So we got to see each other, even outside of school, because we were neighbors. Anyway, and then when I was studying in London, which I talked about in my London video, in college, my friend Krista and I went to Ireland on our midterm break in October. And we went to Dublin again, and then we went to a bunch of other places. And while we were in Dublin, we went and saw my host mother, who I had stayed with 5 years. Yeah, it was 4 or 5 years before. And she remembered me, which I thought was really cool because she had so many students that she hosted. So anyway, what I like about Dublin is, even though I'm pretty sure it's the largest city in Ireland, at least in the Republic of Ireland, it doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel like a big city. Although I will say that when I went there the first time and when I went back a few years later, it felt busier. It felt busier and more westernized and more modern. Like just in that little bit of time, it had changed a little bit. Again, I really liked the architecture. The River Liffey goes right through the center of Dublin. Again, excellent public transportation with the DART and the buses, which there are double-decker green buses. Obviously, I didn't have a car or need a car because I was a student. And very easy to get around. Very, very walkable city. I mean, it's just not very big, and you can really walk a lot of places. And since I was living there, I really got to feel like I was part of it. One funny thing was, there's apparently so many foreign students that come to Dublin in the summers that they would have foreign student nights at the clubs, like dance nights. And my friend Erin and I, who was one of the girls in my class, and her name is Erin, she and I look like twins. I should find a picture and slip it in here. But anyway, she and I look like twins. In fact, one time, her boyfriend that she was dating saw a picture of me with my boyfriend on her bulletin board at home in Pittsburgh and said, "Who is that guy that you're with?" Because he thought it was her. That's how much alike we look. Both redheads, both very fair-skinned, and very Irish in heritage. And there was this one night we went to one of these foreign exchange student nights at the clubs, and they weren't going to let us in because they didn't believe we weren't Irish, which was funny. We're like, no, listen to us talk. But I will say, though, both when I lived in Ireland and when I lived in London, you do pick up a little bit of an accent. People were picking on Duchess Meghan Markle for that she was picking up a little bit of an English accent, and they're like, it's fake. But when you're around it all the time, I mean, that's how babies and kids learn to talk the way they do, is because they're surrounded by it and immersed in it. So it's really not that strange when you're surrounded by it and you're immersed in it and everybody around you is talking that way, you start to talk that way. So yeah, both times I came back with a little bit of an accent. And then I haven't been to Dublin since. And again, now that I'm older and I look like at maps and things like that, I see other things that I didn't get to see when I was there that I would like to go see. I was very sad because my son Andrew, when he went on his J-term study abroad this past January, we were supposed to meet and go to Ireland together. And I had my plane ticket, I had the reservation, everything. And because I couldn't find any satisfactory solution of what to do with the younger kids, I didn't go. And so he went by himself. He flew from Paris he had gone to Morocco, Belgium, and France, and his class had ended in Paris, and then he flew from Paris to Dublin by himself and spent the time in Dublin alone. And he liked it and he had a really good time. He went on a Game of Thrones tour, which was I've never watched Game of Thrones, but he that was really cool for him. And I am a little disappointed I didn't get to do that. But so again, that's another place I'd really like to get back to and take my kids. I'm trying to remember like any specific landmarks or museums or anything. I mean, I went and saw the Book of Kells, and I don't remember a lot of specific places I necessarily went. Sorry, late. But I don't know. I just really enjoyed my time there. I really liked the culture and the history of it, and it's just a really neat, smallish city and very manageable to do if you don't have a ton of time. If I go back to Ireland, though, okay, this is weird. There's two places I want to see really badly, and I think it's because I've read books about them. I just read another book, like not only nonfiction books, but historical fiction books about them. One of the books I just read most recently was called The Glass Ocean, and it was about the Lusitania, however you say it. And I would really like to go to the memorial to where the Lusitania passengers that survived the sinking ended up down in Southern Ireland. And then I'd also really like to go to the Titanic Museum in Belfast. I just think that would be really cool. I have a friend, hey Cade, who is a huge Titanic fan, and he actually just went to London and interviewed a whole bunch of people for a project he's working on about the Titanic. So, yeah. But I just think those are two places I'd really like to go to if I go back. And I'd like to go back to Dublin and see how it's changed and see some of the museums I didn't get to go to last time and things like that. So Dublin is another one of the cities on my favorite cities list. If you have recommendations or cool memories from some time that you've been to Dublin, put them in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time for another one of my favorite cities. Thanks, everyone. Safe travels.